And Morgan, you can take it away.
Awesome. Thank you guys for having me tonight. If there's one thing I love about coaching, it's the community. And that's really when I leveled up myself, is when I just immersed myself in all things Beachbody and all things the process. I'm going to talk a lot about perfectionism tonight, just because that is something that I've overcome with this journey, and something that still tends to rear its head that I have to fight back against. So hopefully I have some takeaways if you relate with that, or if you don't. I think that just hearing other coaches tell their story, first of all, gives you language. It gives you language, and it gives you words and ideas, because when you invite to coaching, the person you're inviting might not always relate to you. A lot of times they do. They might not. But when someone gives you a hesitation, you can say, hey, I know this coach Morgan that's part of my team, because we're all part of a team, right? And she was able to overcome perfectionism because of X, Y, and Z. Because now you know my story. Permission granted to pick it apart and share it how you please. I feel like when you come into this community, that's something that we could elevate each other with, is just remembering that my transformation is your transformation is their transformation, and there's something for everyone in this business. And that is, man, you'll just hear how that intertwines through the last 4 years of coaching. The first thing I want to do with you guys tonight is I want you to make a promise to yourself, especially if you're taking notes. Write it down and say, I commit to being here a year from now. Because hear me when I say that it just gets better. I thought my first year of coaching was awesome. I thought my second year of coaching couldn't get better. And then I thought my third year of coaching was the best. And then I entered my fourth year of coaching. And even though it's been my hardest year of coaching, it's been the biggest blessing that I've ever experienced. And if you stick with it, consistency is what builds trust. It's what snowballs. It's what gets you to those goals that you're chasing. And that's the only way that I can contribute my success. It's to consistency. Show up every single day, even in a small way. So we'll get to my backstory. Why the heck did I even hear about coaching? How did I hear about coaching? Who am I? I went to school with Julianne Candia. I was actually good friends with her husband. So that's how I caught wind of her on my social media. Background aside, she was just this beaming light of joy in my newsfeed every day. And that was when Facebook was like it, and that was the platform. It was Facebook and Snapchat, which is kind of funny now because it's Facebook and Instagram's kind of become both of them. But Facebook's not dead. Don't give up on Facebook. So she was just there all the time. And I totally had that girl jealousy of, she's got something that I want. It's like Rachel Hollis says, you only compare yourself to things that you're insecure about. And I was comparing my body insecurities and my negativity to the joy and confidence that she was experiencing. And I wanted that. But instead of at first going after that, I sat there and watched her and talked about why that couldn't last, and talked about why I didn't think that joining her made sense because of X, Y, and Z. So I was totally that negative Nancy at first. And that's something that perfectionists experience. You constantly compare yourself because you want to one-up that person, because you want to achieve, and you feel so fulfilled by achievement. If any of you have taken the Enneagram, I'm 2 wing 3, and that totally makes sense for who I am. So I watched her for a while, and then I was the annoying coach that did, or the annoying challenger that did everything free. You did a 5-day free group once a month. I was in every single one. I just got to the point where I assumed Jay was going to add me to all her free groups. You're doing a giveaway. What can I do without spending a lot of money to get in that giveaway to get that thing? I was wanting to get the results that she was getting, but I was only dipping my toes in. And that's why I wasn't getting results. I was staying in this continuous spiral of trying to search for who I was and what my purpose was with this. And I knew it kind of excited me, but it was safer to stay in the shadows and just judge instead of put myself out there, be vulnerable, and grow. And I mean, to the point where I was doing Jillian Michaels workouts in her groups that were doing Beachbody workouts. Like, I was just absolutely, I don't know why she didn't ditch me at that exact moment. Like, girl, get out of my stuff. So I dabbled for a year. I would buy like a DVD set here or this there. I never really bought it into the Shakeology thing because I was like, I don't want to drink a shake every day for the rest of my life. That doesn't interest me. That doesn't seem like a smart investment. So I was just cool with the small stuff. And part of my story is that when I was getting involved in health and fitness, I was a collegiate athlete, and I didn't find Beachbody until after college. And once I was done with organized sports, I had no idea what to do with myself, and gradually I gained weight. And I didn't know, like, I've always trained off everything I've ate, so I didn't understand the balance of nutrition and training. And dang, if I was a college athlete now, like, whoa, I would own the soccer field just based on my strength and endurance and fitness. I think I'm the most fit after a baby and almost 30 than I was when I was 22 and just owning my own life, which stinking is awesome. But I gained the weight, and then I realized I gained the weight, and that's when a switch flipped for me. I started a brand new job straight out of school, done with organized sports, working night shift as a nurse, so your body doesn't know what weighs up and what weighs down. I found a new group of friends, which was like my social group of friends, not my forever friends, but the ones that influence you the most because you chase what their interests are. And one of their interests was being fit and dieting and doing all this. So I kind of got involved in that. And it got to the point where I almost call it like body dysmorphia. I was 5'10" and 120 pounds, and I was obsessed with hearing, "You're so skinny, you're so fit, you must work really hard outside of work because you look great." And I was obsessed with those superficial affirmations and other people's definition of me. And that's what was attractive about Beachbody to me, was that when my upline was chasing her health, she was chasing happiness at the same time, and she was chasing confidence at the same time. I went on for probably, it was like a year and a half before I even started dabbling, like I talked about, where I sat at 5'10" and 120 pounds, and I was so miserable. I had no energy. My skin was breaking out. My hair was falling out. Like, it wasn't attractive, but it's what I felt like I needed to do to be beautiful and to find confidence, was to be a certain size and a certain weight on the scale and to be approved by this new group of friends. And so not the case. When I started dipping my toes into Beachbody, I saw glimpses of it, and I gained more trust in it. And I went on my honeymoon, and on my honeymoon, I gained 10 pounds in 5 days because I just ate and drank all the things, and I hadn't allowed myself to do that in a year and a half. So I just, all of it came back, and I thought I needed to lose weight again. So I went in with the challenge pack, and I went all in because this was the change that I saw someone being so happy with and getting the results with and all that. And pretty much since challenge pack or bust, I haven't gone back. That's when Beachbody On Demand started coming out. That's when more Shakeology flavors were released. Like, before cafe latte was even a thing, it was like only chocolate, strawberry, and vanilla. And then this greenberry thing, like, that's when I started getting involved with Shakeology. And a full year after being a challenger and going half in, I finally was like, all right, let's do the coach thing, but I'm not going to do the coach thing to make money or to build a huge business or any of that, because that would be scary, because I was a perfectionist. I was going to do it to get better physical results because I was so happy and I wanted to meet people. I loved the community. I loved what it provided me. I loved like making friends and having such positive influences in my life that I didn't necessarily feel like I had in my social group. And once you graduate school, and especially when you get married, you kind of like, when you're the married one, I don't know, it detached myself from some of my social groups where I got that extrovert energy from, which I am, and I felt super lonely. So it was a kind of a void for that too. Like, I found real women friends that were just incredible. So I went in on coaching, and I was a slow grower. That's always my MO was that. And it took me 4 months to go Emerald. I signed up, first of all, on the 31st of August, which is very funny because I was like those last 2 Success Club points for Julianne coming in at like 10 p.m. at the cutoff line. And now I get it, but I was, again, that annoying person that was like waiting till the very last second. And she was like, please, would you, for the love of goodness, put your order in? I know you're going to do it. So it took me 4 months to go Emerald. And in December, I also hit Success Club for the first time. And I kind of got obsessed with what it felt like to help other people. I thought it was really cool to show other people what worked so well in my life. And being a natural teacher with being a nurse and all of that, like it felt really good to serve. Making money on mission feels really good. And that's how I talk about making money with my team, is because how else would you want to make money if it wasn't helping other people? And that really took away the money is yucky MO that I had growing up in a small town. It was like farmers and not people. People didn't make money. They weren't well off. They were like, you have what you need and you don't talk about more. And we're so blessed to have what we need, but wealth wasn't a thing. And associating a business with wealth made people say things like, well, Morgan, are you part of a pyramid scheme? Or are you part of like this business model that's just to bring people in and let them go? And it was very interesting to navigate through at first. I think that's why I was such a slow grower, is I had to also shape up my relationship with money and understand that it was money on mission and money while making an impact. And that made it feel so much better and also so much more gratifying to me, because I get excited about serving. I also started doing like going to live events. Like I heard Brittany referring to Summit, and you guys, Summit is where it's at. And first of all, if for no other reason you pay $155 to go for the personal development, you wouldn't even spend that at a personal development straight conference that wasn't also going to help accelerate your business and wasn't also going to accelerate your health. We saw Rachel Hollis speak this last year. She blew my mind. You wouldn't have seen her even like put foot in a room with her for that much money. And you got a whole weekend of stuff. So really look at it as an investment in yourself, and also to experience the community as being real. So once I went Emerald, once I started hitting Success Club, I did it again in January. I did it again in February. And in February is when I went with Julianne to fly to see 2 coaches that I had met virtually first. I was terrified, in Arizona. And that took a huge leap of faith for me. But it basically came down to something has to quantify this as real in my brain instead of just being virtual. And I needed to experience Beachbody as just living and breathing it, instead of just having it be a compartment of my life where like I get to work in my power hour every day and then I don't really talk about it outside of that. Like in February of that year, I was still at the point where if someone asked me about Beachbody, I would be like, I drink a shake and I do a workout and it's fun and it's just for fun. But when I went and I took a leap of faith and I said, I'm going on this trip to meet people from Beachbody, people started to take it, and I started to take it more seriously, to the point where people were asking a lot more questions and I was a lot more willing to talk about it because I had a concrete example of an experience that shaped my life and my business. So I met 2 of my best friends in this business, Sarah Freed and Mariah White, and they're just 2 rocking business women. They have such successful businesses, but they've built such wonderful teams and have mentored such wonderful women. And I started a team with them. And we started growing, and within a month of going on that trip, I went diamond. And it was a decision. I had to experience it. It had to be concrete. And I saw how they breathed inviting. I saw how they sent voice messages that were personalized to the people that they were talking to. I listened to their language. I heard how they spoke about it. I saw their confidence in it. And it flipped a switch where all the people that have been half in, I followed up with, and they saw what I was doing and the trip I was on, and how all of a sudden I said, I know what this would do for you, versus like, well, maybe it would be cool if, or what about if you thought about maybe joining me because it would be fun? I said, you have to join me because it's going to change your life. And that confidence is what tipped a lot of those people that were on the fence over the edge, because I was able to show them as well that I'm going to follow through with what I talk about and that I'm really getting into it. And after that, I've stayed diamond and held diamond for 3 years. My team, Happy and Fit, has been in qualification. That's been super fun. But because of how my mind works and because of my perfectionism, diamond was like the safe goal. Like I could put in a moderate amount of work and make a moderate amount of money and be considered as diamond, this rank that's higher in Beachbody, that's higher in the compensation plan and more higher recognized and all of that. And please know that when I talk about rank, exactly where you're at is where you're supposed to be. And I hope that this is motivation to get you to where you want to go, because Emerald and Ruby and Diamond and Star Diamond, like all of that does not define who you are and where you're going. If you're going to lead like the role or the rank that you want to be. So when I say I was Diamond for 3 years, like that's stinking awesome. I'm not negating that awesomeness. It was wonderful. What I'm saying is that I needed to level up, and I allowed myself to stay at the same level for that amount of time or that length of time. And just like longevity in this business or years in this business, the bigger you build your team, the more joy and fulfillment you're going to find out of this. And also you're going to make more money, more impact and income at the same time as your team grows. And that's when the switch flipped for me. So I held diamond for 3 years. And this past spring, after hitting Success Club and staying consistent with that, I missed Success Club for the very first time this last spring. And it was a number of things that led up to that. But basically what it comes down to is that I was cool with being safe. And if you don't continue to add to your team, you're not going to continue to build momentum. When you stay at a certain point in your business, you don't continue to compound and build joy and excitement in it. It gets to feel like you're just doing the same old thing. And when you're not helping others do the same thing, it got kind of monotonous. And there were other things happening in my life, like I became pregnant and had my daughter. And one very cool thing about this process is I don't even know if my depriving tendencies and perfectionistic tendencies would have allowed my body to become pregnant, because I was so small. I was going without periods for long, long months of time. So that's a huge transformation in itself, that I was healthy enough and happy enough and confident in my image enough that I could go through a whirlwind of changes and then know that I'm part of a process that's going to help me get back to what I was, if not better, or even if I didn't, know that that's what changed after pregnancy, and that's exactly how it was supposed to be. So that's a huge shift that got in there. But having a baby, you have to learn to manage your time a little different. And I wasn't shifting my business to match what was going on in my life. And I want you to write this down. You can't always do in this business what you've always done. You can't always do in this business what you've always done. And after my daughter, I noticed that I was running my business with less structure. I wasn't tracking necessarily. I was sending invites based on posts and following up in Facebook Messenger or my DMs on Instagram, or watching who's watching my stories, but not necessarily reaching out to them. Like I was tracking inconsistently. And I also wasn't doing the vital behaviors consistently. Number one, inviting. I wasn't inviting consistently. I was making excuses in my mind that becoming a mom was this wonderful, beautiful thing. And I wouldn't allow myself to put that hour of effort in and do the hard work first, because I was putting all of my energy into this other thing, which isn't true. Time is a perception. We all get the same 24 hours in a day, right? We all get the same 24 hours in a day. I work 40 hours a week. I'm a toddler mom. I'm a wife, so like a mom of two pretty much. I'm involved at church. I'm the oldest sister of 6 kids. Like I could make a million excuses about time but I don't because I know what this business has done for me. And I know if I'm effective with my time management, I can get in, get out, get done. But I was allowing chronic coaching to sneak in there and like constantly being on my phone, but never feel like I'm getting anywhere. And then saying, I don't want to be a role model for my daughter where she's constantly seeing me on my phone, or that my husband gets mad at me because he's talking to me and all of a sudden my face is in my phone and I don't hear anything that he says. So the inconsistency didn't necessarily affect my business in the moment. The inconsistency affected my business in a delay. So the work I'd put in the previous months before Olivia, like I hit Success Club and added 2 coaches the month I had Olivia, when I was 9 months pregnant and giant and like ready to be done, and right after her. And I hit it in June and July, and I kept that momentum going, but it's because of the work I put in structured and intensely in the spring. And over the summer, as I relaxed a little bit, I noticed it got harder and harder to feel like I had momentum. And I also backed down in my team page a little bit, where my team was hearing the other coaches I was working with voices, and they weren't clear on what my goals are. And my team, your team, is only going to do maybe 10 or 15, I've heard different percentage numbers. They're only going to do a fraction of the action that you take. So because I was taking less action, they were taking less action because the person that was pushing them and motivating them, not carrying them, but encouraging them to continue to build their business, wasn't doing what they normally saw. So they backed down a little bit and they allowed life to get in the way a little bit. So it boiled to the point, without belaboring it, to the point where I missed Success Club for the first time after hitting it for 38 months in a row. And I was like, what is going on? I'm doing the things. I lost the pregnancy weight. I'm doing the workouts and whatever. And my self-care never wavered, which is insane based on where I've come from and all, like that's wonderful. But my business did waver based on the amount of effort that I was putting in. That was the returns that I was feeling. And I hit Success Club 4. So I missed it for my 39th month by 1 point. And I pretty much felt like a puddle, because as a perfectionist, when you miss goals like that, you are super hard on yourself. And you think about all of the places that you didn't measure up instead of thinking about all of the things that do measure up. Like, you are a brand new mom and you're still choosing to run a business and you didn't quit. Do you know how many people quit when things get hard, or when they don't feel momentum, or when they lose sight on the goal? There are so many people that quit for a lot of different reasons. And that's why I had you write down first on your paper that you're going to commit to being here a year from now. Because you have to make goals like that to keep you in it. It's not going to feel great every day. It's going to feel like labor some days, but it's the easiest hard work you're ever going to do, because it's going to change your life and the lives of others. So I missed Success Club, and that was a disaster. And then a couple months later, I dropped from Diamond for the first time in 3 years. And that felt super defeating too. I was like, here, I'm going to go to my next summit in a couple months, and I'm Ruby, and I missed Success Club, and I'm not an all-star legend anymore. And I started getting so down on myself, because as a perfectionist, you want the achievements and the recognition for all the things. And I basically was to a point in my business where I either needed to draw a line in the sand, or I was going to let it go. And I brought in this coach, and she is just so wonderful. Actually, a really funny story about my coach, Danny, is that there is a girl on your team, and her name, I'm so sorry, it's eluding me, but she's a travel nurse, and she traveled to an ED in Wisconsin. And Danny saw her Shakeology shaker cup sitting at the nurse's station and was like, okay, who's on my turf with the Shakeology shaker cup? Like, coach, get out of here. And it ended up being one of Brittany's coaches, and they have become really, really close. And I think that that is insane that that connection happened in small town Wisconsin, that it's a coach from your team and my team. Yes, Kristen, absolutely. So I met her too. I feel so, too much pressure remembering her name. I apologize if you're watching the recording. But my coach, Danny, just reminded me and refueled my joy in this business, because she was one of those coaches that you dream of adding. Those are the coaches, when you think about adding 2 coaches a month and going emerald again and going emerald again, that you're searching for, because you just had to guide them. And she did the things, like all the things. Like she started using the tracker, she started inviting, she was posting everywhere, she was doing this training and that training. And at one point I was like, sister, make sure you don't burn out, because you still need to be a mom and you still need to be a nurse and you still need to live your life. And she went diamond. So here I was sitting in 1-star qual, because I got my team in shape, feeling like I was going through this midlife coaching crisis. I was so proud of her. And like, I was just doing the average diamond thing, but now I've created a diamond. And how did I do that when I wasn't really doing the things I knew I was supposed to be doing? And I still didn't necessarily have my voice with my team anymore. And I'm going to talk about some C's in a little bit. But if you want to jot them down right now, they are clarity, competence, confidence, collaboration, and commitment. So clarity, competence, confidence, collaboration, and commitment. And I knew something in my business had to change. So that drawing the line in the sand happened when we went into 1-star qual. I was like, I'm not going to let Danny down for this 6 weeks. We're doing this together. And that's the coolest thing about qualification, is it's about everyone in every downline just living into the process that elevates you as a person. And so line in the sand, started tracking again. Line in the sand, started inviting again. I sent at least 1 invite every single day, because I was finding that the voices in my head were saying, you're not doing well enough. You only sent 10 invites today. You're not doing well enough. Someone else is sending 25 invites a day and posting about that. Someone else is saying they sent 50 invites. You're not doing enough. Do more things. And I just had to promise myself that even if I missed a day of 1 invite, I wasn't going to miss 2 in a row. Because just like a workout, if you miss a bunch in a row, you start getting in your head about it, right? So I promised myself that 1 invite a day is still 30 invites. How many of you can say you've invited 30 people a month consistently the last few months? 1 invite a day. Go, Brittany. 1 invite a day seriously will help compound. And that doesn't seem like you're biting off more than you can chew, right? Especially if it's like genuine, follow-upable invite to this. So I started doing that. And then I also started getting to the point where if I'm going to be leading my downline and I'm going to be leading my coach Danny's downline, like as the star diamond, I have to up my leadership. I can't just be floating around here kind of half doing the things that I needed to do. So the vital behaviors, and then it was on my mind, it was on my heart. This was probably one of the toughest decisions I've ever made, but I broke away from the team that I had, Bold and Beautiful. It was called, with Sarah and Mariah. It's still existing, still rocking. They're going for premiere 2 years in a row, like so amazing. But I had to have a tough conversation with the 2 coaches that I was leading the team with, that I needed to break away and have my own team, because I was losing my voice. I was losing my voice in the loud amount of leadership that they were providing in a way that worked for their coaches. And they were doing such great things, but my team needed to hear from me. They needed to see me leveling up. They needed to hear my voice. They needed to know that I knew the things that those other leaders were leading their team to do. And that was being one of the hardest things. You open yourself up to so many great relationships in this business. And when you open yourself up to love, you also open yourself up to hurt. So they completely understood, because we're surrounded by wonderful women. But for me, it was like, how do I say this business decision without it being personal? Because the beautiful thing about this business is it intertwines. And that all ended up like coming out at Summit in person, which is exactly how it was. It was the hardest, but it was the most wonderful, because they're from Arizona. And I didn't really feel like, hey, let me FaceTime you and spill my whole heart. So we talked about it at Summit, and I really had to search for the right personal development. And that was something that was missing too, is that I was only letting my mindset to stay at a certain level. So when I wanted to up my level as a leader, I sought out leadership personal development. And one of the best books that I listened to twice was Leadership by John Maxwell. I felt like he was ripping my heart wide open, my mindset wide open, and being like two-handed shove me out of my comfort zone into a comfort zone of, you need to lead your own team because your people need to hear from you. And that's kind of where I get into the 5 C's of leadership. And I got that from work. Actually, one of the coolest things about being a nurse educator is you get to go to some PD stuff because you're a leader. So clarity, competence, confidence, collaboration, and commitment. I needed to get clear. I needed to get so clear on what my goals were. So I put my vision board in someplace visual again. It had made its way like in a desk drawer or something. I don't even remember where I found it. And then I made an electronic version of it, and it's now the desktop of my computer. So if you haven't made a dream board, I totally encourage you to set goals. Maybe not even necessarily in dream board format, but like short-term goals, like maybe a month goal, and then 3-month and 6-month and 12-month, and lead like the leader you want to be at the end of the 12-month and take that much action. And then also, when I was looking at building a team, I needed to build a team that was me. I needed to build a team that I got to define. I needed to build a team that I got to set the standards for and help build a community that I believed in, not the other coaches that I was leading with. It needed to come from me. So I want to read you my mission statement of my team, because for probably a good month before I got to talk to all of my coaches about this, because I wanted to not just make a decision to split a team and then like not have a plan, and also not make an emotional decision based on feeling down in my business. I really thought through it. So I wrote out our mission and vision, and I'm having trouble here with my screen. Okay. So my team is Team Beauty Inspired, which is funny because it's the opposite of your team name, just flipped. Exactly. It's so funny that it ended up that way. So I feel like my heart is one of yours. Our mission is to empower individuals to fight back against perfectionism, insecurity, and poor body image. Is to spread love like wildfire and find unshakable confidence in who God intended you to be. And like, I sat down and I looked at that sentence and I said, yes, like absolutely yes. This is what I needed to come out of my whirling mind, trying to put all these measures in place to get me back straight, to see that that's what I was here for. That's my purpose in this. And then I wrote out the vision. And I said, our vision is to build a business based on this mission, showing others that it's possible for them too, through healthy living of mind, body, and spirit. Whether you're here to be a coach to yourself or a coach to others, we're incredibly grateful you made the decision to join us. And I was so clear on that I literally could shout that from the mountaintops and anyone could hear. And if they questioned me, I would be like, well, I could just write it off, because I am so clear and firm on that. That's my mission in coaching and what I want to provide to others and the culture that I want to create, that it makes it easy for me to show up. It was that line in the sand. It's like your mind needs, like a GPS needs, a destination. Otherwise, you're going to just kind of flit around and not necessarily know where to go. But when you plug in a destination, like a vision and a mission like that, your mind goes, oh, I need to go here and here and here and here. And it's more calculated on the actions that you need to take to create a team like that. So that's my first C, is clarity. You have to get clear if you're holding yourself back, if you don't know where you're going, if you're getting in your head mindset wise, you have to get clear. And then competence. Competence is the vital behaviors. So whether you like it or not, you have to invite or your business isn't going to grow, right? So if you're serious about your business growing, you have to get serious about inviting. And the only way to get better at inviting is to do it. And you can't say the wrong thing to the right person. That's what I always tell my coaches all the time. You can't say the wrong thing to the right person. And for you to feel good about your invites, you have to have that clear mission and something exciting to invite to. Like this month, I felt like my inviting was down. So my new theme for next month is No Shame November. And body shaming is a huge part of my story, and insecurity and image. And I'm so excited to invite people to that group. I'm so excited. Like I just wouldn't even know why anyone would say no to participating in that, because I believe so much in it. And if you create a team and a space and a group to plug people into like that, it makes inviting easy. So create competence by just continuing to invite. And if you don't feel like the invite is natural, think about what you're inviting to. Okay, you have to invite something that makes it feel like if someone would say no, you'd be like, well, what the heck? Why wouldn't you? It's wonderful. And then confidence. You have to develop a confidence in you and know that you're capable. And your upline coach can't always be there to say, you're capable, you're capable, you're capable. Some of that has to come from you. We will always tell you you're capable because we see that in you, and we wouldn't have invited you to be part of this team if we didn't think that. Okay. But you have to create that sense of energy in yourself and that confidence in yourself by showing up daily in your personal development, because you have to decide, like I decided 3 years ago in that spring, that I was capable of building that diamond team. It was a decision. Okay. So seek personal development that helps you find confidence. And for me, in this midlife coaching crisis and this fight against perfectionism, was Leadership by John Maxwell. I also am reading this really great book. I heard it on, I always love PD extras. It's called Get Off Your Butt, B-U-T, in quotations, by Sean Stevenson, S-E-A-N, Stevenson. If you listen on Audible, his voice is a little weird, so you have to get over that. But like the get over your excuses, get off your butt is just so good. So that personal development helped me gain that confidence again. And also celebrating the small wins. I had to seek where I was enough, because there was a whole bunch of voices in my head telling me that I wasn't enough in all these areas, because I wasn't necessarily getting recognized for those things. So that was huge too. And then collaboration, creating my own team to collaborate with and be a part of and bring together and create the culture. That was huge for me. Relationships in this business are everything. And relationships that you build with your challengers and prospects and all of that, that's everything. You collaborate with someone and make a plan, even if someone says no in your message. If someone says no in your message, you don't leave it at no, you ask why not, right? Like you ask more questions. Like, if you don't mind me asking, why isn't now the right time for you? I love also using the language and messaging of, one of my suggestions would be doing some home workouts with Beachbody On Demand and Shakeology. What do you know about those things already? Have you heard about them? Because that opens you up to hear the hesitation of the other person, so you can share a piece of your story or someone else's story that would make sense to fit it in there. And then commitment. I had to commit. I had to recommit. I had to commit again. I heard on the National Wake Up Call today too, I loved how it said, like, the line you draw in the sand isn't always going to be there, because sometimes the waves are going to come and wash it away, and you have to draw another line. And that's what this year was for me. It was drawing another line. It was saying that diamond wasn't enough. The starting the team, the missing success club, like I had so many lines drawn that were washed away by a tsunami. And here I am drawing a line again, saying, okay, so I hit Success Club 38 months in a row. Why not go for 39? And starting over at 0 again, like Brittany said, is frickin', it makes your guts drop every time. But you know you can do it. And if you believe in the process and you do the things and you build a collaborative relationship with people, they will naturally join you based on who you are and what you have to offer, especially if you're consistent. And then I added another C, because this business takes courage. This business takes so much courage. And just chew on that for a second. We ask other people about so many pain points in their lives while working through pain points of our own. And we do freaking scary things all the time. But on the other side of being courageous is success. And on the other side of being courageous is the life that you're building for yourself. And it had to take some courageous decisions. Imagine looking at your best friend and saying, I don't want to run a team with you anymore. Like, it's not that I didn't want to run a team with her. It's just like, it's how can I navigate that this has to be a business decision and make it about me without having your best friend feel like it's about her? You know, it's very interesting, but you need to act outside of your norm to get to where you want to go in this business. We can't be normal to be successful in this business. Who's normal anyways, first of all? But you can't just be normal or average. That's not why you're a coach. You're a coach to level up. You're a coach to have courage. You're a coach to see what it's like to get broken down and to come back stronger, and to show other people that that's possible, and to be an overcomer. I'm still doing that every single day. I'm doing that in my business every single day, but also in my self-care, because my self-care ties directly, how I'm feeling ties directly to what I feel like doing in my business every day. So if you're feeling stuck, gut check on your self-care. If you're feeling stuck, gut check on your personal development. Seek out personal development that makes sense for what you're going through. I sought out so much personal development on perfectionism. So much. I still do. I just posted the other day that I called myself fat, or I posted about someone calling themselves fat. And then I said, hey, it was me. I called myself fat. I looked in the mirror and my nutrition wasn't on point. I skipped a couple workouts. Like, when you skip your self-care, you're not in the mindset to do what we do. So start there. Start with your vital behaviors. Never forget inviting, and tailor your personal development. So that's kind of what I have for you guys. I want to leave a little time for questions, or for Brittany to comment if she feels like she heard something that would speak to one of you. She knows what you need to hear, so I'm happy to expand.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh, Morgan, thank you so much for all of that. You guys, you can type excuse me, your questions in the chat, and we'll ask those as we go. But I'm going to start with this, because you've given us a couple defining moments where you said, you had to draw that line in the sand again and again. And as the waves crash, as you evolve, as your business evolves, there are going to be new challenges, new obstacles. You could never not hit Success Club 39 months in a row if you didn't already try for 38, right? Like, that's the cool thing. You know what I'm saying? And you couldn't lose Diamond if you didn't even freaking go for it in the first place. So, like, the fact that she's hit these losses, or she hits these walls or obstacles in her business, you have to understand that she went for them first, right? So that's really cool. But I want you to talk about for a second that defeat factor, because I know that, especially with perfectionism, not hitting that Success Club number again and having to like start from what you feel is scratch, or dropping, which is so normal, you guys. Dropping rank happens all the stinking time. So normal. But talk to me about, like, when you've felt defeat, what have you clung to? I know you said very focused about personal development, but in terms of like your community and just getting yourself back up, what do you cling to the most?
Yeah. I think first of all, it's like, you're still going to wake up the next day with these awesome people around you, right? Like, you're still going to wake up the next day after missing a goal and with breath in your lungs and with so many good things going for you, that you have to remember that you're going to always remember the one thing that went wrong over the 100 things that went right. And that's how our human mind is just wired. And when you practice gratitude, and when you create a vision that you write down in a journal every day, or that you make visual, or that is so meaningful to you that you could cry just thinking about it, like reading my mission and vision, that overcomes any sense of perfectionism that I might be fighting. Your brain can only be one thing at a time. It can't ever be sitting there stuck and complacent because you're fighting perfectionism and grateful at the same time. It can't be. So just waking up, choosing gratitude, and then seeing the potential in the space that you have in front of you. Like, I have the potential now to hit an even higher streak than I hit the first time. Instead of focusing on the fact that that streak is over, I have to focus on the fact and choose to focus on the fact, because my mind will always go to the fact that it's going to be a lot of hard work to get there, that the opportunity is endless for me and I'm in charge of creating that, and no one else can take that from me.
I love that. And you guys, I hope that this gives you some sort of comfort in knowing that when you miss a milestone or you miss the mark on something or you don't hit a goal in the timeline you thought you would or whatever, when something feels like it crumbles in front of you, that number one, the sun comes up the next day. There's still breath in your lungs. And the only way to truly decide what's next is to either throw in the towel and then you inevitably know, or to just keep trying, right? And then you have no clue where it could go from there.
Totally. Yeah, failure is a decision to stop trying.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you don't hit the goal or not, but failing is a decision to stop trying.
So good. Katie is asking, with you being a full-time nurse, educator, mom, wife, all the things, how do you structure your days then so that you fit in the business side of things for Beachbody?
That's a really great question. It looks a little different every day. I can tell you that before Olivia, I was super good at power hours, and I love doing guided power hours on like YouTube. If you just type in, I heard you talking about in your one-on-one Rob Pearson's like guided power hour that the Beachbody Champions put out there. I love seeing how other people work their business, because I tend to I focus on gleaning information instead of trying to compare and become that person. But I work in power pockets now. So like my morning is so filled with what's going to give me energy for the day. So it's waking up and drinking my Energize. It's getting my workout done before Olivia, and it's doing a little personal development. I read a devotion with my husband, and then I listen to a book or do something to help set the tone for my day. And then on my lunch at work, I give back to my team page. I give back to my challenge group. That's when I start posting on Instagram, like my stories I've recorded earlier in the day, and focus on that. And then in the evenings, after I've been able to make my post for the day, that's when I start going back on my previous posts. And I like warm inviting. I invite based on some type of interaction I've created with a person before. Even if it's just like, hey, so glad to see this in your news feed, or in my news feed about what's going well for you. Like I love wishing happy birthdays. Like, what are you doing today? Super easy conversation starter. But yeah, so I would say I work more in power pockets, and I look ahead on Sunday at my week and I say, okay, what do I have going on in my life this week that is different or not scheduled or something out of the ordinary? And then I really am intentional about planning time outside of those things so I can be present for those things. I also can't work at work. Like I have a leadership position at work. So when I go to work in the morning, my phone, I can't be on social media or anything like that until my lunch. It was a lot easier when I was pumping, because when I was pumping, I got a little extra break time in the day. So that's when I would challenge myself with inviting. But you have to really choose to be effective with your time management. So when you say you're going to send one invite a day, go send the dang invite a day, and then don't sit in your newsfeed and scroll. You have to say what you're going to be doing when you're spending time on social media, because it's easy to get in the trap and then not feel like you're doing anything at all.
I love that. Pockets for the win, for sure. Hey,
Yeah.
Morgan, can you talk real quick? We've got one other question, but I do want to do like a B to this Katie question about business hours. Talk to us about how you've allowed the conversation into your marriage, that these pockets, because I know when you get home, there has to be a sacrifice, I'm sure. And you said where there were times in your business where you were in your phone and your husband's like, what are you doing? Like, so can you talk us through how you define that with your family life?
Yeah, absolutely. It took practice, first of all. Like it definitely, there was some tension between Sean and I when I first started coaching, because it was something that I was doing for me and it wasn't something that I was doing for us. So it definitely took mutual goal setting. Like if I go to Summit, like especially this past Summit, if I go to Summit and I leave Sean and Olivia for 5 days and 4 nights, what's that return on investment going to look like? And I have to make sure that I'm so effective with my time that I get that return on investment, or I at least am getting to the direction of that return on investment. So I would say, first of all, mutual goal setting. This business is for us, not for me. And then sharing how much this business means to me because of who I become through the process, and helping that person understand and being vulnerable with them, whether it's your significant other, husband, I don't know, mom judging you, or sister, or anyone. Like, they have to understand what role that it plays in your life. And a lot of tension comes from unclear expectations of a certain thing. So being super clear about that. And then also, like, when I'm home after work, before supper and before Olivia goes to bed, my phone goes face down on the countertop. And if I don't get my stuff done for the day, well, dang, I should have done it earlier in the day. And that's a lesson learned for tomorrow. But I also had to be clear with the expectations of myself that I either sometimes have to stay up a little later or get up a little earlier to get my stuff done, not to sacrifice time with my family.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that, because I think that it's always a tricky place to navigate, especially when you're newer in the business and you're trying to do this thing, but like your family or your immediate surrounding connections don't really understand why you're telling them no, or why you're on your phone, or what this whole thing is. Yeah, I appreciate that. Last question for us is, do you have any specific personal development books or podcasts, specifically with body dysmorphia, deprivation, that were more helpful for you, especially in those beginning stages of your journey of self-love and just where you started from?
Mm-hmm. Let me see. Mastering Your Mean Girl. Have you guys read that book? Mastering Your Mean Girl by Melissa Ambrosini. She didn't necessarily go through like body dysmorphia necessarily, but she definitely went through some like mental health association with body image. And it was huge. I actually run a challenge group off of this book. Like, when I feel like, I don't know what else to run a group off of, I'm going to use some of this language in my No Shame November group. So I loved that book. I also felt like Girl Wash Your Face by Rachel Hollis was really good. And You Are a Badass was one of my first books that I really loved by Jen Sincero too. But I think Mastering Your Mean Girl definitely was like the body image one that focused specifically on that.
Awesome. And the coolest part, guys, like, I do this all the time. I'm sure, Morgan, when you were dealing with seeking out perfectionism or leadership, personal development, and things like that, the best tool is to literally go to the Amazon search box and just put like, body dysmorphia self-help books for women, or, courage books for women, or, you know what I mean? And just literally use the Amazon bar as your search engine. And I'm sure you will find a plethora of books and resources out there too, guys.
I Quote of the Day show too. If you go to that website and type a search word, because he has like Sean Croxton, I don't know, have you guys heard of Quote of the Day? It's basically like all of these incredible personal development speakers that if you just search like one word that you're searching for, it's like all the keywords of speakers that he's had that have spoken to that thing. And then if you go to YouTube, you get more than just a 7-minute clip of them focusing on that one thing. You get like their whole 45-minute talk or whole hour talk. And often, like this Get Off Your Butt by Sean Stevenson, he actually just passed away in August, and he was on Quote of the Day show as like in honor of, because he was such a great PD speaker and friend of Sean Croxton, that he recommended this book. And I was like, oh, podcast that recommends a book. I liked that excerpt. There's a book that works for me. So
100%. I love it. And I love the resourcefulness. Sometimes we end up going down a rabbit hole with our personal development. I think I find so many resources simply because they've been in another book or podcast somewhere. Perfect. Well, guys, I'm going to stop record now.